really dangerous. Of course, we have to be open-minded to all possibilities. And five, RDF. Chip, good morning.
Well, good morning, Jay and Annette. This is N5RTF. Are you getting my audio correctly?
QSL, and it's always wonderful hearing your voice. Over.
Thank you. I may have fixed the problem where I was having to reboot my hotspot every week. It's 55 degrees in the swamp, so I'm inside for the first time, although we expect a beautiful day later on. I had a great Thanksgiving, which was coincidentally this year my birthday. So we spent it with a group of friends at a local bar, and just had a wonderful time. Have not seen anything of the variant here. I guess I'll find out about it when I go to work on Monday. But we have talked before about the differential exposure of people to crowding. In the north, people are out in the summertime and closed up in the winter. Down here, we're closed up in the summertime and outside in the winter. So that may very well affect the spread of this thing and also the rates in different parts of the country. N5RTF.
Happy belated birthday. We have the same situation here at our house. But, they have a November 21st and a November 28th birthday, so it often falls on Thanksgiving. But this year we are celebrating today, tomorrow's birthdays, since a person is departing for South Florida. Great talking to you, Chip. Thank you for taking the time to participate and to record. PY2 BBQ Hilton, how are you today?
Okay. Hello, Jay. Hello, everybody. This is PY2 BBQ Hilton from São Paulo, Brazil. I'm very happy to participate today of our Nets, and I'm sorry I couldn't be with you in the last few weeks, but I tried to keep the broadcasting in the YouTube even remotely. I managed to broadcast it. Well, we have some news here from Brazil, especially regarding this new variant, the Omicron variant. Well, just after the news were released, the stock market in Brazil decreased 4% because of the risk of new lockdown. That's that was really a great issue, especially yesterday in all the newspapers. Well, let's see what's going to happen. It seems that it's much more infective, this new variant. And so let's see in the picture of most of the people vaccinated, that's what we see here in Brazil right now. Most of the adult population, more than 90% of the adult population is already vaccinated, and those who received the second shot for more than 2 months, at 6 months, are receiving the third shot right now. Wait, one.
We lost his audio after the Omicron and Brazil introduction. Let me let it drop so we can fish tank it.
Okay, BY2 BBQ returning. Let me keep an eye on my screen to see I'm still transmitting. I had a problem with my Blue TV, and I'm transmitting with the radio. a Linko DJ MD5 to the hotspot. But I was saying that after the news about the Omicron here in Brazil, we have a drop in the stock market of 4% because people is afraid of a new lockdown here. So let's see what happens. Because today the picture is much different because we have most of the adult population already fully vaccinated. In our city, it's more than 90% of the adult population have already received the second shot. Wait, what? Okay, PY2 BBQ and Marco DV9. So let's see what happens. The great issue here in Brazil is regarding the New Year's celebration and the Carnival next February. Should we keep it? I don't think so. I don't think so. Let's see what the government is going to make about it. Well, I was just playing in the contest, CQ Worldwide CW, that's running since yesterday. Did already almost 200 QSOs, and the propagation is open as it's always open during contests. That's what happened. And thanks, Jay, for the comments on the emergency communications that we coordinated a few weeks ago. It was largely announced in the press here in Brazil also, and it was good for amateur radio. You see, after all, it was good for amateur radio. Wait one. And finally, I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. You know, here in Brazil, we don't used to celebrate the Thanksgiving, although it's mostly a Christian, Catholic country. Um, we the turkey nightmare here in Brazil is in the Christmas Eve. The Christmas Eve. So, those are the news from São Paulo, Brazil. Back to you, JA4FL, PY2BBQ.
Thank you, Hilton. Great having you on board again. Always wonderful hearing the news from Brazil from you firsthand rather than having to read it in the paper or online. And glad you're doing well so far in the country. And it will be a good test case to see how effective how the vaccine is, assuming that the exposure starts to come your way. Hopefully that will be true. I guess what I've read and seen statements that are in the public domain is it would take them a few weeks to have more comments about that. The vaccine manufacturers. That's sort of genomic content, its ability to evade. So hopefully we don't have an escape mutants. You know, we wrote about escape mutants in the ether. I can't remember it was the April issue. It was quite a while ago. We all knew this was a possibility. To have one that totally evades would be disastrous. So, partial evasion, not so much so. So hopefully the vaccine is still likely to be able to provide protection even if it's produced. Give the drug companies a chance to alter their mRNA vaccines and get everybody appropriate boosters rather than the ones that were the same old configuration that we recently received. Are there any other stations that would like to check in, whether it be member or a community member that's monitoring and would like to discuss the subject? Just make your call to AA4FL net control at this time. No other calls at this time. Are there any follow-up comments from any of our members that are checked in? If so, please go ahead and let me know and I'll start a new list. AA Forza. Okay, nothing great about the topic. I didn't bookmark the BBC article that I read recently, but interesting enough, it was about mRNA vaccine technology. Thought we would be superhumans, and one of the other applications would be for the mRNA technology to go beyond just vaccinations for COVID. Some of it was mentioned was altering it to be effective against cancers to use mRNA as for suppressed diseases, things that they could target individually. So it was an interesting read. You get a chance, it was on the BBC website, and should still be up. It was only a couple of days ago. And it's not a scientific article. It's a practical one. Not quite an extension of what we talked about with Dr. Ferrari from Israel. This one's specifically just talking about the implications of mRNA technology. And it was more expensive than what I'm saying. Has anyone else read that article or seen that topic? Go ahead and let me know and we'll make a list. Okay, it's a busy holiday weekend. I have a special activity. I'm not going to it today. We do here in Gainesville, the Florida State, Florida football game is actually taking place in Gainesville, so I'm not driving over to Gainesville after the game, but we will have some football to watch here coming up in an hour and a half. I'm sure it will be on national TV if anybody else cares to partake. I know there's some other major games coming up, so which ones? Andy, do you remember WJD? Is there a big game for Ohio State today over?
Oh yeah, yeah. I graduated undergraduate from Ohio State and medical school, University of Cincinnati. But yeah, the Michigan Ohio State game is on at 12 noon. Locally, it's going to be on ABC, and so I don't know if that will follow in all parts of the country, but certainly it is a big game. Ohio State, after the prior victory of Michigan State, ranked number 2, and Michigan's number 5 or 6. So yeah, whoever wins this is probably going to end up in the top 4, and yeah, and it will be interesting. It's being held in the big house in Ann Arbor. So back to you, Jay. WJD.
Well, QSL, if Ohio State wins there, definitely top 4, and perhaps with Cincinnati, did they win their game the other day?
Yes, they did. Apparently, they didn't look as good as they had. Of course, their difficulty of their schedule is not anywhere near what Ohio State's is, but yeah, I don't know if they've ever played Cincinnati in football at the college level, and certainly haven't been one that I remember. And so it would be kind of funny if they both made the playoffs and facing each other that way. They used to have it in basketball as well. Cincinnati had excellent basketball teams, and Ohio State usually does well always. And all those years, and they were playing, and they would meet in the tournament. Over the past 5 or 6 years, they do schedule Cincinnati periodically in the pre-Big Ten season. So it is interesting how that works. And the coach, Cincinnati football, was a former temporary coach at Ohio State for a year between Trussell and Urban Meyer. So always something interesting going on. Back to you, WJB.
Back to QSL. No, Ohio State actually Florida in basketball this last week. I think it was a squeaker. Ohio State lost in the last second shot. I didn't watch the game It was one of those tournament games, I think, in Fort Myers, Florida. It was at night. But has Cincinnati played SMU yet, or is that something, a game that's still coming up?
I think that already occurred and they won.
Okay, well, if they end up number 4, they'll play the number 1 team, so they may not get Ohio State, but you never know. Maybe Ohio State can sneak up to number 1. I'm not sure who number 1 is, but Georgia puts out a good showing in the SEC championship game. It probably has a pretty good chance of being number 1. Play Alabama there. Okay. Any other comments for the net other than football and basketball? I mean, it sounds like Andy and I'd be glad to have a football and basketball net for our 2 conferences. Any other comments? Go ahead.
UA2 BBQ for a short comment.
Please proceed, Helson. Go ahead.
Okay, UA2 BBQ returning. And, well, since we're talking about sports, today it's the final match of the South America Soccer Championship. The game will be between 2 Brazilian teams, Palmeiras from São Paulo and Flamengo from Uruguay. And it's today. It's a great event for us. It's the other thing that's coming out is the keyboard fight free time I had last night. It's already almost 200 QS, so many new countries in CW, and the propagation seems to be very fine every time we have a country. So back to you, Jay, for yourself. UA2.
QSL, Hilton, enjoy the football matches, and wonderful to hear that you have excitement coming down in your contest. As far as the contest and the propagation, I haven't been on HF much this last week. I worked a number of new FT8 base stations on 12 meters. 12 meters has really been open, so I've been able to work in all directions here. It's usually a pretty good sign that the sunspot cycle is starting to mature when 12 starts to get hot. Won't be long before it's 10. I'm holding my breath for 6 because I always have to rely on sporadic heat. Any other comments about contesting or propagation from our group? Go ahead and make your call. AA for us all.
WJAP.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, well, this weekend I got too many things going on to do contesting. The last weekend I did participate in the ARRL sweepstakes, and probably got about 12 hours of operation, and had 100 contacts, and about 10,800 something points. So we had a lot of fun with it. It was the phone contest. I wanted to do the CW contest as well. Unfortunately, I was out of town and helping with a couple of young grandsons, and that logistically was impossible. So we'll have to wait for that one next year. So the bands were fairly good. I had trouble working in states that were close. Otherwise, it worked pretty well for 100 blocks and vertical. So back to you, Jay, from WJAP.
Well, glad to hear you're enjoying contesting as well, Andrew. We planned the expedition, and I felt guilty about canceling it last week. the one for May that's going to go to St. Martin, but I guess I've been justified in reasoning, having a little concern that the situation wasn't clearing up with the happenings that are this week. I think it'll take more than 6 months to sort through that. But long story short is, as an alternative, once things calm down here in the States, we were talking about perhaps doing some contesting at different members' homes where we go to the community, stay in a hotel, and then use their station for contesting. So that sounds like you'd be a prime candidate to be interested in that, Andrew. I'll keep everybody abreast of it.
Okay, Andy, thanks.
We want to start having some social activities, contesting in Hampfest, our annual meeting in Dayton, of course, Xenia is an ideal way to do it. Any other comments before we call the event to a close? AA for Net Control for the Marco Digital Voice Net. Seven three, everyone. Have a wonderful week, and we'll speak to you next Saturday during the net. Hopefully, we can stimulate some more interest. I don't want Omicron to be the reason for stimulating the interest, but we will be watching the happenings, all of us as a group, this week. And best wishes for your local communities and keeping things under control, because we know what a hardship it is for the general population, for us as individuals, when we experience direct effects of COVID. 7-3, everyone. Talk to you next week. Thanks again to the Quad Array for supplying the technology that allow us to have this wonderful exchange using different digital modes. We appreciate the transcoding and the dedication of volunteerism in keeping the system running. This is AA4FL saying 7-3 until next week. We'll be QRT.
Please, everybody, have a great weekend.